All right. All right, I'm ready. So we're on page Reish Tes Vav, finishing up here in the Sifra D'TZNIUTA. A moment. Okay. So where we're going to look at here is, we'll try to pick up some black print on the right column, and what I wanted to do was read after number Yud Bet. So let's get a running start. Just look at the black print. It's a Chayos Ratzav Veshuv. So he talked about this, the Shrikim or the Srikim. I don't know which way they pronounce it. The Hachiyus Chayos Hakodesh Elu Omrim L'Baledidim Barach L'Chol El Mokomecho. So run for yourself, for your place. Let's look at number Yud Bet. Yud Bet over here. That would be the third line down from the left column. So here he says, "V'afal gab shemem shalos balach hadinim rotza the hisgaver." They want to grow and grow. The kevin sheyesh the rosh klipa. Now this interesting point. If you looked at the head of the klipa, so that first of all he's telling you that it has a head, just like other spheros. It says it has like 10 spheros. Let's say start with. At the very top of the head, Rotzel the Hisgaver, let's say, became a Sheyesh, the Rosh HaKlipa, Achisa Besofa Kedusha, but there, on the other hand, it's connected to Kedusha Beso the Pasuk. In Tagbir Kenesher, if you lift yourself up like an eagle, V'im Bebein Kochvim Sim Kinecho, and you put your nest, the eagle's neck, so to speak, amongst the stars. Afilu Chochi, it goes on to conclude, Misham Oridacha, I'll take you down. Nu'um, from that place, he said, Nu'um Havaya. V'nezbatel memshalos balei chadinim v'lo tizgaver od. So there's Yud Gimel here. That's what I want to look at. And let's go back over to, let's go down, and let's see what we can see here. On number Yud Gimel. Number Yud Gimel says, Rei Bahadras Melech. He says, Shabir Kan Vazel Lashonos, what he says, Ki im tagbir kanesher ya'an reishe de Esav ba'atve de Yitzchak. So the burial of Yitzchak, and I'm looking about this word atef, he's spelling it like, it is spelled here, like a Hebrew spelling. So this atifa could be like Lashon wrapping, I don't know, but here he says, at the burial, at any case, of Yitzchak, even if you reach that level, I'll bring you down. What does that mean? And there will be no rulership of the din any further. Because it becomes nullified. So just 1 second, I got slightly messed up here. Okay, so let me see if this will work. So then he says, Tagbir Kanesher, he says, Ba'atve de Yitzchak, Afilu Chachi, Bisham Ariditcho, I'll take you down from that place. And there will be no more control of the Memshalas Adin. Now this he's saying is the metaphor is the head of Esav. Why? Because he said the head is actually connected to Kedusha. Ki nizbata ad kan. V'tzol olam b'shapasik zecha b'arel b'klipos Esav v'rasha. Kamavur l'holon. We're going to see that later. Hajan b'sefer Ovadia. We're brought over there. But pasuk. And pasuk that says of the medrash, also the medrash, and Masha Arbo Tagvia Kanesha. What's that mean? Lift yourself up like be lifted up like an eagle. Who mitzad nitzutzas hakadusha shevarosh Esav. V'lachein the kaver rosh Esav etzel Yitzchak. So therefore, the head of Esav could be buried there. Avinu b'seudas b'ma'ira machfela. So he says, "Kamuva betargum Yonason." Like a better v'zechel deshana b'toch devara. This is a quote. Reishi the Esav mizgalgel, it rolled ad the el lego ma'arta until it entered into the cave. V'isnakein bego itzvei the Yitzchak, and it came to arrest Gam be'itve de Yitzchak, also in the grave of Yitzchak Aviv. V'rosho shel Esav is gagol ad sheniknas b'soch maras hamach ve'ela. V'nach b'cheko, so he said itve maybe means lashon cheko shel Yitzchak Aviv. So in other words, he was chek. It's a lashon like you hold a baby. It's like something you cradle and something you really care for. So he says, Ve'isa b'lekutei Torah, he says over there, and on Ovadia again, V'zecha v'cha v'hine Esav choya netzutze kedusha de gimel rishona shalom. He was sparks of kedusha. Why he says sparks, but he says sparks of kedusha. The gimel rishona shalom of his gar. Genuzos bepiv, which are hidden in his mouth. It's just one more time for that one. I'll just try to adjust this one. Esav choyin the tzutz of kedusha the gimel rishona shadocha genuzos bepiv, which all of these were hidden in the mouth of Esav. Besov ki tzayed bepiv, because he spoke like a hunter or a trapper with his mouth. For the ched kishachata Husham ben Dan, when Husham ben Dan cut off his head, Dan Rosho shel Esav, Dileg a Rosh, so then the verse jumped. Dileg usually means to skip or to jump. Harosh Lamara into the cave. V'nekaber sham Yitzchak, and that is a place where Yitzchak was buried. Ki hakadusha choyse b'rosh levad, because the kedusha of Esav was only in one place. That was in the place where his head was. Because there he said there were sparks of kedusha in that head. Hadkan, that somehow came out of the mouth. The mouth is really the lowest element of the head. So where it came out. If it came bezora akia, so also look over there. B'shar ma'amari razal. Okay, so that really pretty much wraps up the intro, or I don't know what this is, the basic Sifra D'TZNIUTA here. And let's go back to the back of the Sefer and try to pick up some of the thoughts that we have in regards to it. Now, looking at it on page Tov Shin Yud. Tov Shin Yud, where are you? Tov Shin Yud, there you are. And we're down here in the Biurim. Siman Tes Zion, that's our place. We're working on the phrase Vayakad Istalakai. Woe when this one leaves. Busmin de Tipsa. So there he's talking about the sweet inner Kedusha of Zohar V'nuk become revealed. So he said number Aleph, Vayakad Istalakai. We're going to be dealing with that. That's the first one we're going to be dealing with. V'izgalion number 2, V'izgalion inen busma de tipsa, so it opens up the penimius of Zohar V'nuk. Srikin lo avrev lo misakve beduchta. So he says the srikin, what? He says lo avre. I forgot whether avrave means going back, or they don't go back, or they don't continue on. Lo misakve beduchta, they don't, I guess it means, I'll see it again. Lo avre are not held back. Lo misakve bedukta, they don't hold themselves back in their place. Wherever they come from, they go right away. Number Dalet v'hachayis ratza v'shuv, then there is a countermeasure. So he said, Baruch l'chol el makomacho, that would be number 5. It's going to be run back to your place, which he said was in the deserts and so on and so forth. Number Vav, im tagvia kenesher misham aridachol. So we're going to deal with all of those different ideas. How are we doing time-wise? Okay, we have time to look a little bit at this. Let's look at number Aleph. Number Aleph says, Bir inyan vai kadestala kai. Rei bebira mashula the fiha rizal. Sheniz boyer, what they say, al pia yofisha. This is through the Yofisha explaining ki la'achar sheniz boyer la'elsa, since up above. So previously it had explained the ava ve'ima hakolim mizdavkin lahamshech mochin chadashim. They come together to bring the mochin chadashim that are coming to bring godless into Zohar V'nuk, l'zer v'nukva and sham. Ama'ata b'sifra d'tzniut, and I'll see this here. Ki oy l'tachtonim shegormim al yedecha chatoim, by the way that we behave, it causes historical samoch the God of Zer Anpin. So it's like if you commit an avera, then the avera that we're talking about actually has the effect of removing the historicals amochin the godless. The oz mistale gam bechinas levush hachashmal. So even the most outer aspect, which he mentioned a little bit further earlier, it leaves the ima. That is an aspect of ima which he said before is when the nai comes into zer anpin. There's a chashmal on the outside of it that doesn't actually go into zer anpin, remains on the outside. This is the last line of defense. It sounds like the oz mistale gam bechinas levush hachashmal the ima. Hashomer as Zer Benuk, Ma'achizes Chitzonim V'rei Od L'Holon. He's going to talk about this in Oz Beis and Bir Aleph. So we'll see what that comes to. So let's see if he's going to tell us something, an aspect here or an angle that we haven't seen before. So let's go to number bet. Now we know that the Or Yakar is always pieced together. My thinking is that Reba Or Yaakov, he says, Shabir kan the Inyan vai kadistalek hai shayach l'sif hakodim. So once again, we're going back to what we were talking about previously, which is what? The fi darko la'el, which we saw this previously, b'simin hakodim. Arde b'sod beis yudin shal v'yetzer. So this is once again the concept of creation or making something, forming something up, has two yuds in it. Shehim Chochma the Erik Anpin, which refers to the Chochman Erik Anpin, thinking of Erik Anpin's 10 spheros. This would be the top sphera, from whence comes the Mochin for Zer Anpin and Nuk. He says, Shehim Chochma the Erik Anpin, Amis Labeshes B'Chochma the Zer Anpin, which winds up being clothed there. Now, we have some contradictions for that simple language where he says that the yud, one yud is clothed in the other one, where he said previously that the top yud, that is the yud of Erik Anpin, which would be his chokhmah, is not directly manifest there. But over here it sounds like it is, but I don't know. Let's look at two ways to look at it. Echad the Erik An be'inyan siluk yud el yonah the Erik Anpin. That's one. Is that all you have to have is the haslacha, the siluk, I guess the right way to say it, the siluk of the chokhmah of Erik Anpin. That's a Erik An be'inyan siluk yud el yonah the Erik Anpin. That's one. And the other one, number base, is the Erik be'inyan siluk yud atachton the Zer Anpin. Now, are they dependent upon each other? Exactly what is he saying here? Two different things. If you remove the yud, which is the Chochman Zer Anpin, which had to have come from Most High, had to come from up above into Zer Anpin, it leaves. So then you have no basis of making a yichud with the Nuk, because we've seen in other places you need Chochman in order to do that. So anyway, Yud Tachton the Zer Anpin, the Hainu Sichluch Mochim Chocho the Sher Chochma, the Chochma the Shel Zer Anpin Atzmo. So that's what I was thinking. I said that you have to have something going on up above to cause damage down below, or it is that your damage that you're doing by committing the averas or the mistakes that we make down below causes the siluk of the yud of Zer Anpin, or maybe he looks at it as like Zohar V'Nuk together. Ki b'shashim mistalag yud el yonah de Erik Anpin mislav shuso b'yud tachnon de Zer Anpin, and that also may his lav shuso from its being clothed. Now, see, he's saying right out that it's being clothed, where we saw previously that it doesn't sound like it's that simple. He said it's only by a remez. Even so, what is he saying? He said the remez, I'll explain it out to you, and the remez is to tell you that the Yud Elyon is actually mislavish and the Yud Tachton of Zer Anpin. I don't know. Miyad mistalek gam Yud Tachton of Zer Anpin. It is the stalkos up above, the stalkos down below. V'az equal his gavros adinim, and automatically comes the gdinim, which means like we live, and Kedusha lives in a fishbowl to a certain extent, and outside are the klipos. if the boundaries are broken down, they're there. So here's the Or Yaakov comes along and says like this, Vai kal kadistalekai. What's that mean? After the farce also Eric Anpin, Behistalko Bezer Anpin. So you could say that one he leaves their Anpin. The first Yud leaves the second Yud. Shaz Hadinim Govrim. Now there's a little note on here. Then they give them to go to. Let's look at number Aleph down below. See if it says anything. Benezer Yisrael al hazoar kan shabir kan bezalashon vai kad istalek high. What does that mean? Pirushim istalek Eric anpen mizer anpen oz is galia the dinim, and when that happens, it turns out that the dinim are right there. Okay, nothing special about that note. So let's go after the note. Ad ein tachlis. So shaz hadinim govrim. In other words, they explode. Bifnei shesod Eric Anpen hu hakofer hadinim, because that's what Eric Anpen does. It's the one. What humbles, bends down the dinim shehem gibori gavru kedefrishno. Like as we know that they're out there. It's like they're all around you. They're all around. Then gover. So after that, we see that now, God forbid, in the histalchus, when they leave, hadin gover. After the farish al yud hatachton, but maybe we're just talking about the yud hatachton, but exactly ba'atzmo the haydach b'stalik yud me'al vav dalet. So he says that's what it is. The extension is yud vav dalet. And the yud of that, the vav dalad. Let me read again. V'efsher the farish al yud vav dalad the tachton, be'inyan behind the mistalach the yud me'al vav dalad. This is another historicals of chachma. Behind the chachma the zer anpen, so that is all that you need in order to create a situation where the other side is misgaver. He says it just remove the yud from zer anpen. So if that chachma is the one from Zer Anpin, sof who besod the chachma shehu bebechinas balarachamim. Now this is a mahalach I am not familiar with. So he says that chachma. First of all, he's making statement. The chachma is bebechinas is a sof is besod hachachma shehu bebechinas balarachamim. This is a chachma definition is the balarachamim. Chachma the Eric Anpin, and also the Balamach, the ultimately is the Chachma of Eric Anpin. V'hadveka b'zer Anpin Tamed, which is constantly, I know we got this. The Deveka b'zer Anpin is constantly Davek the Zer Anpin. Dahainu sod v'yetzer shemis lavish Yud El Yonah the Chachma the Eric Anpin b'soch Yud Tachton. Tachtona. The Chachma. 1 second. The Chachma is there. Anpen Kanal V'Histalek Yud El Yonah behind the Chachma Keduma. Now, what does it mean? The Eric Anpen. In other words, the original Chachma, that is the Chachma of Eric Anpen. Shenoisen Hatachton Yad. He said Yad. He says the definition should be Makom. That gives it the lower a place. The dinim miad hayuda tachton atzma the chochma zer anpen mistalkim gam kain al the vav dalad, and you're stuck down there with just a vav dalad. I'm not sure what the implication of that is that if you're talking about zun and you're talking about the removal of the yud from the vav dalad, it's like they're out there by themselves. V'ha shnei silukim elu isnu adkan. We have that over here. Okay, we have time for a little bit more, so we're moving right along here. Let's go to number Gimel. Now over there he used the word hislavshus. So there he said that the upper yud, which could be either, just thinking about this, could either be the histalkus of the yud from the vav dalud in Zer Anpin. It could be any other yud that we're talking about, which always represents chokhmah, which he says represents. What was his words? Chochma de Erik Anpen, he says, who bechinas bala rachamim. Okay, I hadn't heard that said like that. But okay, that doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay, I'm there's a lot that I don't know. Okay, so let's go on. We're number Gimel now. Revish Pirish Talmud. Shabir lefi darko le'el da'ire be'in hamshachas mochen le'tzorach nisiris zer v'nuk. Now that we talked about that also. So what is it we're losing? Teferes and Malchus. Shehem Sod Osius Vov and Daled, which represents Zohar v'nuk. Haklulim b'shorshim b'yud, which are actually a part that were originally incorporated, or they are in fact, or I don't know, incorporated in the yud. They're the Vav Daled of the yud. Shul Chochma Ein Sham, and what is that? That's Chochma. Let me see if I can straighten this out. He said, "V'vai kad istalek hai, Ratzon lekad istalek hayud she'amarnu, shehu soda chochma v'soda mochin, kishemistalkim min havav dalad." When you don't have that connection anymore, it's like lost in space. Shehem teferes of malchus, v'haz chas v'shalom, b'dinim is aranim. And when you're lost in space, there's no atmosphere in space. Space swallows you up immediately. Just think about that. I'm thinking about when we're seeing that. When I'm thinking about this, I think about that show Lost in Space. I think June Lockhart was the mother, and it was like a kid's show. It wasn't Star Trek. So anyway, let's go to number Daled. Rei Bahadras Melech. Let's go over to Hadras Melech. Shabir the Ire, and what was I can't try to think of the name of the male actor. I don't remember his name right now. Rei Bahadras Melech, look over there. Shabir the Ire kan be'inin his stalkus there anpen menukva is the concept of this again. So you could say that all of these different histalkus, very similar. The Gorim Gilu Yisod the Nukva Chas v'Shalom. But now he points at something else. What happens when the Yud? So he's saying that the Yud has the effect of being able to block, to sosum, to mismastim, the Yisod of the Nukva, Chas v'Shalom. And then if it leaves, then there's nothing protecting it. Vai kadistalek chai shuhu zer anpen min amalchus. So this, when this one leaves, which is zer anpen for malchus, ki bezivug sosim yisoda, because in the yichud, okay, I said it's slightly wrong. He's not talking about the yud. He's just talking about zer anpen altogether, I think. Ki bezivug sosim yisoda, because when they're connected, her sod is covered. So let me explain this. It needs help. What's it talking about here? The Zechah v'choyze b'hadras melech, he adds on this. The Vayir Sham, the choyze b'kan the inyan zivug zarko v'nok. Hamavur la'el, which we talked about. So havlad v'cholich the doidi, the mesharim, so go straight to my beloved. What is that? The mechasi pischa, and what's the purpose of going there? Is to protect her erva, so to speak. Ayin Sham Bahadras Melech. This also teaches us what the klipa is really looking for. So let's go over here to number hey. No, number Gimel. That was it. Down below. Number Gimel down below. So he said number Gimel down below. Kamosha Messiah Bahadras Melech Khan Bazel Lashon of Agam so the Zechah rumbles the ale. V'masha Amr Vav, they had the two Vavs, Shehu Romas the Zer Anpin, the Vav. Okay. So the Chodach the Doidi, what does that mean? Zer Anpin, who Doida Shel HaMalchus. Now I'm seeing Doida means the beloved, the Malchus. V'Chodach the Meisharim, what is that's an unusual phrase a little bit, and they're going in the straight path. His Daveg Ima Al Yedei, his Gavros the Ima Hanikroim boots into the Gardanusa. How much more time do I have? I just want to look at one more time this phrase. The Meisharim, the his Daveg Ima. How does that take place? Al Gavirch Duvers the Ima Hanikroim boots into the Gardanusa, which is called by that name. So he says ki chom hagavuros, because the gavuros get, I think he means heated up. Kod min la'orach of the zevuk, before. So this is something about Gavuros has to maybe look at next time again. Ki Choma Gavuros Kod Min La'orech HaZivug, they come first in order to arouse the Yichud. Besod Smolo Tachas the Roshi. So this is the beginning. It's a hug, let's say, of the underneath the head, which is the left arm, I think, underneath the head. V'yamina then comes to the right hand, but chasadem tach bekeni. So first it's just the arm hugging the head part. And then he said that's the left arm, and then the right arm comes in and it makes a rig hug, a misnavging, and ultimately they come to yichud. The Makasya Pischa, that's what it means to cover up that opening, the nukva. It means the yisod of the nukva. When he makes a yichud with her ad kan. So that's very interesting, and I think that's the shir for today. Thank you for taking the time.